7-Eleven is the luckiest number to start a podcast at.
Woo! Don't publish my address. Jeez.
Make a wish.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome to the Exceptions Podcast.
You didn't tell me, it's my turn now? You always do the intro, so all of a sudden I have to do it?
I know. I just wanted to see
We
how
had
you
no,
react.
wait, hold on. We have to regroup.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Do you want to do the intro this time?
I'll try. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Exceptions Podcast. It's your favorite podcaster, DJ Fenmore, with the main side chick, Jessica Bodrug. I don't know what a main side chick is, but she's my partner.
She's not
in
the
crime.
side or the main. She's both.
Yeah, she's my partner in this whole thing. Thank you for listening to another podcast. We are continuing with our big magic series. This is part 5, the final installation, in our review of Elizabeth Gilbert's life-changing book, Big Magic. We're excited to wrap it up and give our final thoughts about the book and this whole adventure of living a creative life. Today's section is called Trust. Mm-hmm. And there's a little extra part at the end called Divinity, which is like 5 pages. So we're just going to include that as well. Trust and divinity. That's what we're going to be talking about. But
awesome.
First and foremost, I guess the branding demands us to ask anything exceptional that happened to you today. not today, but like during the week, anything exceptional that stood out to you or...
Yes, since our last podcast, my exceptional thing is not actually a world event, but I got another book that I started reading and have already read like halfway through. So not very productive in reading this week, not so productive elsewhere. Anyways, it's called Period Power. I think that it is especially good for anyone who menstruates, but maybe not if you have people in your life that do and you understand them more.
This is my male English teacher privilege showing.
What?
I thought it meant like an actual full stop power. I'm like, oh, is that the power of like period? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's actually
like that?
Yeah. Okay. It's
like
actually like
the
menstruate.
literal English teacher period. No, it is not. It is about the cycle, and it's just cool. It's written by Maisie Hill, who is I think she refers to herself as a women's health practitioner. But she does touch on the experience of people who don't identify as women who menstruate and people who don't menstruate that identify as women as well. So it could be for more than just quote unquote women. But it was cool. She just talks about kind of the different, she relates the different sections of the cycle to seasons. And I was talking to my friend about it, and I was likening it to astrology in the sense of you can use astrology to, what's the word? Like, make excuses for your behavior and be like, well, I'm just a Scorpio, so of course I'm a piece of shit. Not kidding. I'm kidding.
I have Scorpios like that.
I have at least 3 very close friends that are Scorpios that I absolutely love. And they go well with me being a Cancer also, apparently. Anyways, you can use it to excuse your actions, or you can use it to support you. So by looking at this and going, well, I'm in fall of my cycle, therefore that's why I have no energy and I'm unproductive and I'm a bitch. Like, that's not helpful, but more so in the sense of like what to expect during these phases, like physically, mentally, a lot of discussion about the relation between the hormones in us and how we do feel physically and mentally. I just found it very interesting. Some things where I was like, oh shit, that is so true. And other things I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, I'm interested to see if I find that that's the case for myself. So yeah, very cool. Very good book.
Cool. That sounds really interesting.
So I know it doesn't apply to everyone or is everyone's interest, but I'm really into it this week.
I like it. I love that for you, as we would say nowadays. I love that for you.
What about you? Tell us something exceptional.
Nothing really this week that I can remember. I guess things are just exceptionally changing every 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say something funny? Why were you laughing at me? I'm exceptionally sensitive. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Oh, where are you in your cycle? Actually, I feel like we should do an episode on this one day because I have so many questions to ask someone who doesn't experience menstruation. Like, are you just the same all the time? Does it just come and go? Like, I know, like, this cycle is not the only reason why we have changing emotions.
You're the same all the time.
But I'm just curious about things.
I tend to not shapeshift.
I feel like I know I know the answers, but it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, nothing too exceptional happening in my life so far, except I guess excited for that song release that's happening tomorrow, which would have already happened. So go check out
At the
Flowers,
time
everyone.
This comes out. Nice.
Yeah, so go check out Flowers with my good friend Augustiner. It's amazing. Have you been writing every day?
No. For a second there, I was like, no, I just gotta tell you the truth.
I mean, what else would you tell me? A lie?
I've been reading. I've been dancing. I have written a bit, but definitely not every day. I don't even know when the 30-day mark came, but my plan was not to stop when the 30-day mark came.
Yeah, that was the plan, right? Like not to stop.
No, I feel currently quite far away from my book. I have this like scary almost feeling that, you know how she talks about ideas no longer being like they've kind of flown the coop. I have a fear that that's the case, but I'm like, okay, no, like I have a say in this as well. Like it's a matter of my connection and commitment to it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a weird fear now because I think that's a good mindset to have. But I'm like, oh my God, am I using it against myself right now? Like I think it's just a matter of effort in this case.
Yeah, I mean, effort is a part of it, but jumping right into the book, then I guess because this is a good segue. Do you still have a curiosity for it? Because in the book, in this section, in this final section that we're going to be talking about, Elizabeth talks about the idea of passion versus curiosity. And she has her qualms about passion. She's like, not everyone really has passion because it's a really all-consuming fire that kind of sometimes is ruinous to your life and your relationships. I remember talking about this with my friend, and we're talking about the idea of ambition and passion and drive. And I came to the realization that he didn't have that much passion about anything, but it was not necessarily a bad thing because I have a lot of passion about certain things, and it can be very bad for me being so passionate about music, for example, or certain things. But Elizabeth talks about the idea that perhaps we should not glorify passion, but rather look towards curiosity. So if you are curious about something, that's the thing that you should be pursuing just a little bit. You know, it's not so all encompassing. It's not so dangerous and not as sexy, but it's really fruitful and it's kind of wholesome being curious. So I'm asking you if you're still curious about your subject, because
yeah, for
you
sure.
still want to write about it.
Curious about the subject versus curious about writing. I mean, the subject is, yeah, for sure about the subject because I will still have ideas pop in my head as I'm trying to fall asleep that I need to get up and write down, things that pop up just like throughout the day. So I think maybe what I'm kind of realizing is it might be more of the structure of how it's going that I'm not flowing with, because the topic, I feel like the topic I really enjoy because I live it every day, and so it's something that I need to be with.
What was the topic again?
The topic is literally this thing that I struggle with every day, which is this gap between inaction and action regarding the things in life that we really want to do.
Right.
the things that we're curious about and why it's so hard for us to follow through. So for me, that's even writing a book.
Are you curious in the manner that you want to research it more, or are you curious in the manner that you want to, I guess, mine your own experiences to come up with some sort of answer?
I think a bit of both.
So what have you been doing research-wise? Like, what have you been looking? Have you been looking up anything in that area, or?
I've started to actually ask people in my life what their experiences are. I asked you earlier, but talking to other people about what their experience of this is. Do they experience this? And it's helping me to actually see that this, because I kind of had an inkling that it would apply to other areas of life too, but I just speak about my creative endeavors, and it totally does. And people have so many things that they want to do, but they don't do them. And it's just a very interesting concept to me. So you make a good point, because I still have the interest in the topic, but I don't think I'm acting upon my curiosity enough.
Right.
You know, and like she says too, like she made reference to James Franco. Like, I don't know what kind of person he is, but in terms of like his creative ventures, it's very interesting. Like, he'll do these big picture movies, he'll do comedies, he'll do dramas, he'll do these little weird indie films. He does art. I think he like went back to school and did screenwriting and all this
like
stuff.
8 subjects.
Yeah, and he just does it, and he makes stuff and acts in stuff that's not good. And Elizabeth's kind of just like, I don't care. Like, the fact that he's embracing all of this is great and acting upon it. And I think that I don't value my other curiosities and what they can do for my writing. Like, right. I'm sure, because I so think of my type of writing is nonfiction, but I forget sometimes that that doesn't mean that it's all instructional and logical. Like, rereading this book again reminds me that anecdotes are a huge part of self-development fiction and stories, and that's still a part of it, even when you're not writing a quote-unquote story. So even just thinking about the other curiosities in my life and how I can work them in, like, why all of a sudden in the last month have I gotten really into learning dance tutorials online? Like, that's a huge curiosity. What about that, can I just reflect on and maybe even write on? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess part of it is also the idea of long life learning, but that's an active verb, like learning. You have to like make the time to go and research it and read it up and look it up. I think we have to learn to develop our innate sense of curiosity as well, because you're right. Like, you can be curious about something, but doesn't necessarily mean that you will do anything about it. And
but I mean,
why should you, when you have so many cool distractions around you, or you're tired, or you have better things to do? So I think that's also something that you have to develop, is going after that curiosity and seeing where it can lead you, and not being scared of it. I mean, I guess sometimes people are really scared of, well, is it going to waste my time if I'm curious about something? Like,
or will I fail at it? Like, maybe being curious about something is not synonymous with any skill in that area. But I like how she says kind of like passion would lead us to, this frivolous idea of like failure equaling the utmost awfulness. But when we're more creative, failure just really means, that's interesting. Okay. You just look at it and more think, okay, that's interesting. And you remember not to quit things when they get interesting. And by interesting, I mean less easy, less smooth.
Don't give up on something when it's just starting to get hard, because as she says, that's when it does get interesting.
Yeah.
And interesting is what you like.
Yeah. So talking about things being hard and suffering and all this negativity that we can have around our creativity, I just want to touch on this metaphor that she said about the the shitty girlfriend or whatever, where she had a friend who taught, I think it was like an environmental science class. And she would always ask her students, like, put up your hand if you love, I think she said love Mother Nature or Earth or the
You
Earth
love
or something.
nature.
Yeah. And everyone would put their hand up. And then she would say, put your hand up if you feel that nature loves you back. And everyone put their hand down. And it's something that Elizabeth took into her own work. And she, it sounds like, also taught writing classes of some sort. And she would ask people if they thought that their writing loved them. And someone would say, like, no, writing is like the most terrible girlfriend, or that girl in high school who flirts with you and makes you feel like you're all that, and she's like the hottest girl in school, and then when you're in public together, she says that this other dude like on the football team is her boyfriend or something. And he's like, so no, writing is utterly like torturous to me. And she just talked about how this mindset is so unhelpful. Like, why do we look at it this way? Why do we like get addicted to this suffering and feeling like our work hates us? Why would it hate us? Why would it come to us just to hate us? Thoughts?
Yes. I think what she's providing is, I know what she's providing is cognitive constructs for us to see these things differently. So instead of seeing your work as being as challenging you or in a negative way, rather see it as something that wants to work with you, that's something that wants to come into fruition. Like your idea does want to become a real thing. So think of it in that way. And I again, it's like a psychological tool in order to help you get in a good space to create.
Yeah. And like you said, if ideas want to come to us and their sole purpose is to become created, then why would something whose purpose to get created come to us just to torture us?
Exactly. I guess she's also talking about somewhere along the line, creativity got kidnapped, got hijacked by the martyrs. So in the book, I really love this metaphor she uses. It's the idea of approaching life, yeah, and creativity as a martyr or as a trickster. And so the martyr is, the tortured artist. Like, I will die upon this hill that I've created. My art is everything. I will not compromise. But the trickster, on the other hand, is someone who understands that it's all a game. The trickster compromises. The trickster does what they need to do to make it work. And they're having fun.
They're just seeing what they can get away with. I like how she says, give some examples. Like a martyr would say, life is pain. The trickster would say, life is interesting. The martyr would say, through my torment, the truth shall be revealed. And the trickster would say, I didn't come here to suffer, pal. You want to have fun with it or not? Do you want to associate with your suffering? Like she talks about the tormented artist. It's very much a persona that we want to identify with. And this suffering is something that we want to associate with, because a lot of times I think we don't know what our life would be without our suffering, and we don't know who we would be. Like, what would my personality be without my suffering, as well as what would my art and my creativity be without it? Like, suffering equals good art, right? But often by trusting our devils, as she says, it's creates this feeling that without them, we won't have creativity. If we lose our devils, we'll lose our creativity as well. And this isn't denying that suffering is real and that people go through things. But she just says she's not here to fetishize it, to seek out suffering, as we touched on before.
No, I talked about that. I remember, is it Kesha? It's $$ huh? You know, the girl that made TikTok? Not TikTok, but
the song, yeah.
How did that song go again? Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. That song. That was my jam. I remember watching a documentary where she was having trouble writing a song. And so she's like, I need to go to Steven. I'm like, who's Steven? Steven is apparently her ex, who she had a really bad relationship with. And so they did this whole thing, and they also videoed it. Like she went to go find Steven and like just get hurt. Her intention was to get hurt so that she could write something. And the sad thing was that then she wrote a bop after that. Like she actually got herself hurt just so that she could write.
Oh my God. It's like that girl she mentioned too, where I don't know who this girl was in one of the chapters, but she had a professor that told her that she needed to be like emotionally
uncomfortable,
in despair. Yeah, emotionally uncomfortable in order to make anything worthwhile. It's just like, oh my God, how does that not promote like seeking out unhealthy relationships and wallowing in negative mindsets? Like,
no, absolutely. I guess people associate heaviness with profoundness, and that's not the same thing.
And it's like you've said this before. I don't know if you got it from Big Magic or not, but I think you talked about creating despite these issues as opposed to because of them. And she's saying, she could take what that professor says in terms of never back away from discomfort because it's going to arise. But it's almost to the point where we question things if they feel good and we feel like something bad's going to happen. And that girl who the professor told that to, she had an idea for a book and she put it off for years because it was really fun and she was really excited about it. And she felt because she was taking this professor's advice that she couldn't do it and that it wasn't going to be worth value and it was just going to be fluff because she didn't feel bad while she did it.
That is so toxic. Talk about toxic behavior. No, but I did get that idea from Big Magic actually, and I'm furiously looking for the quote, but I cannot find it. But she has a quote where she talks about
maybe I have it in
your
here.
creativity is like the weed that grows in between the cement.
Yeah. The cracks in the sidewalk.
The cracks in the sidewalk. I think I butchered that quote, but
okay.
You might get what I'm trying to say.
There. It's like the sidewalk is, the kind of, it doesn't mean you're not going to be going through stuff, mental health and life circumstances, oppression or whatever. And let your creativity be the thing that helps save you and heal you, or at least just make you feel something less than awful.
Yeah, because your creativity, just like the weed, is not growing because of the cement. It's growing out of it.
Yeah.
So imagine if you didn't have that cement, that heaviness, that unnecessary heaviness that we carry around. Because one of my favorite lines that she has is the trickster's goal is to move in this world lightly, ever lightly. I took that quote with me ever since because I love that idea of moving in the world with a light feet, like not to be so burdened. I mean, it's so cool to be around people like that too, who are not so emotionally heavy. And I can be that way for sure. And I used to be that way way more, but I'm learning not to be that because it just brings a great energy to a room when someone is just light and doesn't mean they don't have troubles or problems, but they understand and put it all into perspective.
Yeah, don't take life too seriously. And I find that my best days are the days where when I'm worrying or anxious about something, I have a moment, and I'm lucky to get to a place where I can even have this thought of like, why? It's going to be okay. It's literally going to be okay. Yeah, there's some circumstances where something might not be okay, but for the most part, for me in my life, it's going to be okay. And I just need to not take it so seriously. I'm going to get through the day. And I may as well at least try to have fun while I'm doing it. Do you want to know my favorite quotes from this chapter?
No.
She was talking about getting out of the tormented artist persona. And she said, it takes this whole thrilling and gigantic universe and shrinks it down to the size of my own unhappy head. Sorry, she was talking about when you associate with the tormented artist. When you do that, it takes the whole thrilling and gigantic universe and shrinks it down to the size of my own unhappy head. which is just so interesting because you forget all the wonders of the world, everything to be grateful for, that the world doesn't revolve around you, and you just literally focus on what's going on in your own little unhappy head. It's just so relatable to me.
That is a good quote. You know what Billie Eilish said the other day that I wanted to like shake her and give her this book?
What?
She was talking about her new album, and she was like, "It's my baby. I love it. It's my baby." And I love Billie Eilish, by the way. Like, she's amazing, and Phineas, they're crazy, so good. But when she said that, I used to believe that too until I read Big Magic. And in the book, Elizabeth talks about this crazy idea that we have that our projects are our babies, and it's kind of sick because, first of all, if your project's your baby, you're gonna have a very hard time with people criticizing it, remixing it, remaking it, and as she says, like selling it out in the open market. Like, at the end of the day, your creative endeavors, your creative projects are just projects. It's just a book. It's just a song. It's just a painting. You could have put your whole life and your everything into it. But I love how she reframes it into saying that it's not your baby. In fact, you are its baby. I mean, it's probably changed you in so many ways, and you're probably a very different person from when you started that creative project, especially if it's like a huge one. So, in fact, you are the baby of your project, not the other way around. Because if you view your projects as like something so precious as a baby, that's just going to add unnecessary anxiety to you. And I really do believe like once you put it out, just put it out and remember that it's just a thing.
Yeah, identifying it as your child means that when it gets bullied, you're going to take that really hard, or you're going to see aspects of yourself in it. So when it's criticized, you're going to feel that more deeply as a criticism of your character.
Can I take that even further?
Yeah.
And not just creative projects. I think also ideas and opinions. And we live in a world where your opinion or your idea about something defines you. And I think that's really dangerous, because an opinion is just, it's an opinion. It doesn't have to define you. And once you let opinions and ideas define who you are, then you're set in stone in a way, and there's no room for changing. And for me anyways, that's the beginning of a slow death. So even opinions, if not a creative project, but opinions and ideas, if you're not willing for them to be challenged, if you're not willing for them to be dissected and being sold on the black market, really think about that, because they shouldn't define you.
Yeah. And then you create a sense of identity that's very static and is not going to be open to change, because your ideas and your opinions are going to change throughout your life. And if you're holding this so strongly of, no, this is who I am, I believe this, and I do this, and I think this, then how are you going to grow? So what do you think does define us?
As humanity, our ability to adapt, like to change, to create.
So more so self-growth than our opinions and thoughts.
Yeah. And just the simple fact that you are who you are because you are. I know that's so philosophical.
But it's when I ask that,
you are because you just are. Like if for example, you lose all your memories, you lose everything about you, you lose all your IQ or your ability to do anything, you still are. Just because you are. Like, we understand that. That's what being alive is.
Last podcast we got political. This one we're getting philosophical. I love it.
Wait, hold on. I'm so sorry. I forgot our sponsor for the day. Today's sponsor.
It can't be kombucha again. You already did that.
I am sorry.
It's the fact that
a re-sponsor.
Pink and red are the theme colors. Look at this.
Oh, look at our clothes. Look at our everything. Maybe that is a sponsor of the day. Is the color fuchsia.
Fuchsia.
No, it's salmon, pink, burgundy. The red family is a sponsor for the day. And I love that, because red is the symbol for creativity and
it is
passion.
So the sponsor of the day. Period power.
Everything. Thank you to the color red. I just learned the name oxblood as a red oxblood. That's a color.
How rich.
I love that. Yeah.
Sounding.
Ox blood.
I just want to talk about one more concept. Yeah.
One more concept, and then we'll give our final reflections on the book.
Okay.
Go for it.
So this concept that I like is about this delusionalness and this trust. So she talks about this stubborn gladness, which she feels for her writing. So when she gets published, she feels glad and so excited. When she doesn't get published, when she writes something that gets terrible reviews, stubborn gladness. When she writes something no one sees, stubborn gladness. And she says, you know what? Maybe I'm delusional. Is this delusional to keep this gladness? People could say, you're not getting anywhere with that project. But she keeps this gladness because, as we know, she's devoted to her work. What do you love doing so much that the world's failure and success become irrelevant? And again, I just love that. It's like, even if someone came down right now from the universe and said, just so you know, you're never going to have financial success as a writer, I would keep writing. I know that to be true. That's a good example of that to me. And it's something that I need to remind myself of when I get in these cycles of associating my writing with, I need it to make money for me, or I want to be successful in it. I want it to become my career. To just remember, I'm going to do it anyway. So why not just enjoy the process?
Yeah. What's your last reflections on it before we go burn it?
I think it feels very, like, if I would describe it in a word, it would be expansive, because just like the quote I just said, gets you out of your head and seeing the bigger picture. It gets you out of mindsets that could be holding you back. And another word would be playful. Like, she just brings the fun and the joy back into the whole process and really reminds us that the whole point is the process. It's not the end goal. It's not external success or fame. It's the joy of the process. And creativity, by definition, is like a fun word. Any final thoughts before we wrap up with her last quote?
Where do I start? I was born in Madagascar. No, I'm not getting my life story. But so I think the first thing I want to talk about is the idea of being light on your feet. I know it's just seems like a very abstract metaphor, but for me it works because I've been living my life so heavy, and it has been really heavy in my life, especially when I was young. And so coming to a point where I can learn to be just light and putting everything into perspective, where certain things just don't matter as much as you think they do, is really important for me. And I think is really important for creatives out there. And the last thing also is work hard, work hard, work hard, and then trust the process. Trust that at the end of the day, it will make sense.
And in conclusion, to lead us out, she says, creativity is sacred and it is not sacred. What we make matters enormously and it doesn't matter at all. We toil alone and we are accompanied by spirits. We are terrified and we are brave. Art is a crushing chore and a wonderful privilege. Only when we are at our most playful can divinity finally get serious with us. Make space for all these paradoxes to be equally true inside your soul, and I promise you can make anything. So please calm down now and get back to work, okay? The treasures that are hidden inside you are hoping you will say yes.
But thank you for listening to our big series Magic.
Series Magic. That's a sign we need to wrap it up.
Ooh, thanks for listening, everyone. Have fun out there.